Good man.
All right, go ahead, we'll call the meeting to order. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes of the previous meeting?
Well, first off, I just want to introduce Robert here,
Perfect.
who's taking over from Matt. Robert's our new EDA representative from CEDA. We're really glad to have him. He's really hit the ground running so far, and he brings a lot of different knowledge. These reps have always got different skill sets, and his skill set so far, I think he's doing a good job, and look forward to working with him. So I think he's met a few of you already through CARE meeting, I think, so really glad to have you on board, Robert. So.
Happy to be here.
Welcome.
Thanks. Now we'll go on to our minutes. Is there any questions? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Financial report is in there. If you have any questions or... If not...
I did ask Robert to check into one loan, this millwork loan.
Okay.
It seems like they maybe are lagging a little bit on their payments. You know, if they're paying $500 a month, I think they're probably a little behind, so he's going to check on that, so, with what's received to date, so.
We'll move on to the old business, the wetland delineation study.
So, the city engineer asked, could we put off the wetland delineation study that you all approved at the last meeting until the spring, because we're in the middle of a drought, and it'll be pretty difficult to delineate the wetland on that property next to the southwest.
There aren't any wetlands. Move forward.
There aren't any wetlands anywhere this year, so there you go.
Oh, there's still some. All right, so we need to make a motion on that, or?
Well, I mean, we don't necessarily need a motion, we just want some direction.
I would say,
Can't study without water. So.
yeah, and we want an accurate study, so I'd say we push it off.
Okay, yeah, I mean, at a point where it becomes a possibility again, I think I would direct the city engineer to move forward.
Yeah.
Their timeline for what they have staff time for. But, I mean, if we get rain in August or this fall
Sure.
or something, it doesn't sound like we're going to, but, you know, if it becomes available. Just wanted to let you know that
And he'll-
it's going to be on hold for now.
He knows more about it than us, so.
Right.
Okay. Our coordinators report.
So, you've met me. I'm Robert. I spent the first couple weeks going over some transition items with Matt. I'm pretty up to speed on all of your projects, and everything's been handed off, so I'll be, you know, the face of Casson moving forward. Matt and I will be chatting on the back end a little bit, but I'm your main point of contact, so that transition is complete. On the old school building, the CARES group has sold the building to a developer, Paul Warshauser of Grand Venues. He has a history doing commercial, historic venues for kind of commercial venues type deal. He also did the old school building in New Ulm as well that turned into apartments. And so they have a work session on Thursday of this week. I unfortunately will be out of town up north to give a talk this Thursday, so I'm sending Matt in my place to meet with the developer and their business partner. And they're also on the agenda for the August 11 council meeting as well to do kind of an introductory visit.
I did speak with Mr. Warschauer also over the phone, and he's certainly very enthusiastic, and I appreciate that enthusiasm. I'm a little familiar with one of the projects they did in New Ulm, and that certainly turned out to be effective. So, I mean, we're looking forward to seeing what he's got. He's, you know, I think he mentioned on the phone he's looking at potentially some independent living type of housing. That was kind of what he's looking at, but he's very excited to be here. He likes the location, and I'm certainly looking forward to meeting him in person, so.
Can you tell me what kind of project or building that he did in New Ulm?
He took an old, well, you know, so it's interesting. He was at the beginning of the project. He didn't necessarily, he wasn't with the project the entire time. So, and I can remember reading the New Ulm newspaper, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. It was a school building. They ended up turning it into like veteran apartments. And what I can recall is reading that the end cost per unit was extremely high, which is part of the reason I think he got into the project and he got out of it again, because they ended up having to subsidize it quite a bit. But that's what it was. I think it was like a middle school they turned into like 15 to 17 like veterans apartments. And I don't know who the end-up owner was, but there was collaboration between Brown County and the city of New Ulm, and then I think like the VA actually brought some money in as well. So,
When you say they had to subsidize it quite a bit, who's they?
the Brown County, the city of New Ulm, and the VA.
Okay, so it ended up to have a lot of government subsidy.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, you know, he'll probably be asking for help from the city and from the county here as well, and we'll have to see what that looks like. But, I mean, his plan, I think he does have, you know, investor partners who, you know, my understanding of this is that, you know, he sets up this LLC or this corporation, and they say, this is our project, and here's what we're gonna give you as a rate of return on your investment, and then he has to sort of figure out how to generate that rate of return, so.
And then, did he, suggest that he's going to go with affordable housing, not Section 8?
As I said, I mean, what he suggested was senior independent living.
Okay.
Yep. That was what he told me, but, I mean, I'm sure those plans are, you know, it's his plan, they'll change over time.
He said
so.
absolutely not Section 8. He
Yeah,
said, I don't
yeah,
know
I don't
how
think
that
he would-
came into conversation,
Right.
but I said, well, it was brought up at presentation, and he said absolutely not Section 8.
Yeah, I don't think that was what he was looking at, but,
No.
yeah.
In New Ulm, was that, when you have that government subsidized, is that Section 8 at all?
No, it was VA house, it was veterans housing. And I
Okay.
don't know exactly their funding, how that all works out, but it was generally for veterans, yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm not sure how that applies to the money, as far as for rental return.
The VA often pays the rent for disabled veterans,
Oh, okay.
and I'm sure that's probably how it ended up working out.
So it's subsidized, it's just not subsidized through the county?
Like I
Yeah,
said, I don't know the particulars of how the project all worked. They may have run through the VA in Brown County through their veterans group. I don't know, but I know that the housing that they ended up doing was veterans housing. So.
okay.
We'll find more out on Thursday.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see what he has to say, but
Yeah.
it sounded like the CARES folks were very happy to deal with him, and I'm glad they were able to work with somebody who's got some, you know, legitimate credentials and has a little bit better track record than some of the folks they've seen, so.
Now, is the 1918 partnership, school partnership, that's selling the building, not CARE?
Right,
Okay,
yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't really, know much about the
The
ownership group
logistics
myself.
are what they are, but
Yeah.
it's being sold by one entity to another entity regardless of
Right.
the name, so.
Yeah.
Great. On the workforce housing project, all the items for the sand company's developers, tax credit application, we got all of those in on time. The application has been submitted. They should know more in November. So in the meantime, working on getting the parcels split and valued with the county, and then putting together kind of a timeline with our David Drawn Associates on what it would look like to open up a TIF on that area. So. On the industrial park, we've just talked about putting off the wetland delineation study. The other hydrology work that we were going to apply for a Compere grant, that's also going to be postponed, contingent upon what the delineation study says. On the downtown lots, the lot behind the Trow's business, he's been followed up with. He has a purchase agreement in hand, and I asked him to get it back before this meeting. He didn't send it back yet, but I think he's still going to move forward. He called me and asked some questions, and I sent him the aerial, so he has the balance of that lot. So, the county got a call from an entrepreneur that's looking to open up a daycare facility here in Casson, specifically looking at some space in the old Shopco building. So I'm working with her. We're going to put together some startup costs and look at how the city could help with some of those that cost as well. And then on the 29th, I attended the Southeast League of Minnesota municipalities meeting, along with our honorable chair, who's also chair there, to learn about how some of the ARPA dollars can be used, which there's already a plan in place. And then we also discussed the DEED Main Street Revitalization grant program, which those dollars may or may not end up in the region, depending if we can find a regional pass-through entity that would be able to meet the match requirements of that. So, but if they do, that would be a great opportunity to work on some development. I was specifically thinking about the downtown lots, and to be able to support a developer getting something on those lots, and so we can recoup the tip that's there. So,
Thank you. Well, next we have the city administrator's report.
Sure, and I have been out of the office in July here quite a bit, but I do have some different couple items just to hit on. One that may affect us going forward a little bit with some of the housing projects is the reclassification by the state with this 4D housing rates. They're lowering the tax rate down to a flat 0.25%, which will mean that those projects will not generate as much increment as they would have at this time, but it should hopefully, the idea behind that is to stimulate naturally occurring affordable housing. So we'll see what the long-term impact of that. And then just the legislative feedback, and all told it, they went through special session, but it actually worked out pretty well, that most of the things were, approved. So I don't have anything else at this time. So.
Okay. Thank you. And then next is the 2022 EDA budget.
I guess that's all. So.
okay, yep, we can take it from here. So in your packets, there is a budget worksheet for our 2022 proposed budget. So you can review those numbers here. There's a couple changes that I would propose. So in preparation for the highway project that's going to come through, I think we should ask for more advertising dollars to support some of the businesses that will be impacted by that project, and potentially also look at increasing our programs line item with the idea to establish either within our existing revolving loan fund or a separate fund to be able to do some impact grants. If there are businesses that are significantly impacted by that highway project, they'd be able to recoup a certain month of lost revenue, or kind of a lights-on grant program is how I think about it.
Looking at the advertising, so you wanted to increase that from 5,000, what are you thinking?
So I think overall the budget should increase by 10,000, so I'd probably split that 3,000 in advertising and then 7,000 in your programs line item. And that puts your program line item back in line with figures from 2019 and 2020.
Do you know how many businesses